Every application eventually needs to store data permanently: user accounts, orders, products, transactions. Relational databases like MySQL and PostgreSQL are the standard solution. But Java code and databases speak completely different languages. Java is an object-oriented language, databases speak SQL. JDBC is the bridge between them. JDBC provides a standard set of interfaces, connection, statement, result set that your Java code works with. Under the hood, each database vendor provides their own implementation of these interfaces called a JDBC driver. The MySQL driver knows how to translate JDBC calls into MySQL's specific network protocol. The PostgreSQL driver translates the same calls into PostgreSQL's protocol. Your Java code does not change, only the driver changes when you switch databases. Driver Manager is the first class you interact with. It maintains a registry of available JDBC drivers and uses the connection URL you provide to find the right driver and establish a connection. The connection URL has a specific format: JDBC : followed by the database type, then the host, port, and database name. For MySQL, it looks like JDBC : MySQL : / localhost : 3306 / MYDB. In modern Java, you do not need to explicitly call class.forName to load the driver. JDBC4 and later uses automatic service provider discovery to find and load the driver from your class path automatically when you call drivermanager.getConnection. But understanding the 5-step workflow: load driver, get connection, create statement, execute query, close connection, is the foundation of everything in JDBC. The URL string contains 3 parts. The first part is the protocol, JDBC : MySQL. The second part is the host and port, localhost : 3306. The third part is the database name, schoolib. You change this string to connect to a different database or server without changing any other code. Drivermanager.getConnection takes the URL, username, and password and returns a connection object representing an open session with the database. This line throws a SQL exception if the connection fails, for example due to a wrong password, the database not running, or a network issue. This is why it is wrapped in a try-catch block. Con.getMetadata returns information about the database itself, which is useful for debugging and logging. GetDatabase product name returns MySQL and GetDriverName returns the name of the driver being used. Con.close releases the database connection and all associated resources. Connections are expensive to create and maintain, so you must always close them when done. In production code, you would use try with resources to guarantee that close is called automatically, even if an exception occurs. The connection object is your live session with the database. Think of it like a phone call. Drivermanager.getConnection dials the number and establishes the call. Everything you do with the database, querying, inserting, updating, deleting, happens through this open connection. When you are done, you hang up by calling close. A connection object is the factory for all statement types. You call create statement on it to get a basic statement for simple queries. You call prepare statement to get a prepared statement for parameterized queries. You call prepare call to get a callable statement for stored procedures. None of these work without a valid open connection. Connection also controls transactions. By default, autocommit is true. Every SQL statement you execute is immediately and permanently committed to the database. When you need multiple statements to succeed or fail together, for example transferring money between accounts, you turn off autocommit, execute all your statements, and then either commit them all at once or roll back all of them if something goes wrong. We will cover this in depth in the transactions topic. the most important discipline with connection is always closing it. Each connection consumes a socket, a thread on the database server, and memory on both ends. Leaving connections open is a resource leak that will eventually crash your application and potentially your database server. The best practice is to use try with resources. Place the connection in the try parentheses and Java automatically calls close when the block ends, even if an exception is thrown. The URL string is the address Java uses to locate and connect to the database. It contains three distinct parts. The first part is the protocol, JDBC:MySQL, which tells Java that we are using the JDBC API with a MySQL database. If you were connecting to PostgreSQL instead, this part would change to JDBC:PostgreSQL. The second part is the host and port, localhost:3306. Localhost means the database is running on the same machine as the Java program. 3306 is the default port MySQL listens on. If the database were on a remote server, you would replace localhost with the server's IP address or domain name. The third part is the database name, schooled, which tells MySQL which specific database to connect to on that server. Changing just this string is all you need to point your entire application at a different database or server without touching any other part of the code. DriverManager.getConnection is the entry point for establishing a database connection in JDBC. It takes three arguments, the URL, the username, and the password, and uses them to authenticate and open a live session with the database. When successful, it returns a connection object which represents that open session. Every SQL operation you perform, whether a query, an insert, an update, or a delete, goes through this connection object. This line throws a SQL exception if anything goes wrong during the connection attempt. Common reasons for failure include a wrong username or password, the database server not being running, a firewall blocking the port, or an incorrect URL. This is why the entire block is wrapped in a try-catch, so the program can handle these failures gracefully instead of crashing. Con.getMetadata returns a database metadata object that contains detailed information about the database server and the driver being used to communicate with it. This is not information about your tables or data. It is information about the database system itself. GetDatabase product name returns the name of the database, which in this case is MySQL. GetDriverName returns the name of the JDBC driver being used to connect. This kind of metadata is particularly useful during debugging, logging, and when writing code that needs to work across multiple different database systems. Con.close is one of the most important calls in any database program. A database connection is not just a Java object sitting in memory. It represents a real active session on the database server, consuming server-side resources like memory, threads, and file handles. If you forget to close a connection, those server-side resources remain occupied even after your Java program has finished using them. Over time, this leads to connection leaks, where the database server runs out of available connections and starts rejecting new ones. This is why you must always close connections when you are done. In production code, the correct and recommended approach is to use try with resources, which automatically calls con.close at the end of the block regardless of whether the code completed normally or through an exception, completely eliminating the risk of a connection leak. Statement is the simplest way to execute SQL in Java. You create it from a connection, pass an SQL string to one of its execute methods, and get a result. Simple and direct. The choice of method depends on what SQL you are running. Execute query is for select statements. It returns a result set containing the rows the database found. Execute update is for insert, update, delete, and DDL statements like create table, it returns an integer telling you how many rows were affected. Execute is the general-purpose method that works for anything and returns a boolean. Use it when you do not know at compile time what type of SQL you will be running. However, statement has a critical security flaw that you must understand before you use it. If you build your SQL string by concatenating user input directly, like wrapping a name in quotes and inserting it into the query string, a malicious user can inject their own SQL commands. This is called SQL injection, one of the most common and dangerous web vulnerabilities in existence. For example, if a user types alias or 1 equals 1 as their name, your concatenated query becomes select star from users where name equals alias or 1 equals 1. The condition 1 equals 1 is always true, so the query returns every user in the database. Attackers can use this technique to extract all data, delete tables, or even gain administrator access. The solution is prepared statement, which we will cover next. Use statement only for SQL strings that are completely hard-coded and contain no user input whatsoever. Both connection and statement are placed inside the try with resources block, separated by a semicolon. This means both are closed automatically when the block finishes executing, whether it finishes normally or throws an exception. Statement implements auto-closable, which is exactly what try with resources requires to handle closing automatically. When execute update is called with a create table statement, it returns 0 because DDL statements like create table do not insert, update, or delete any rows. The if not exists clause is a safety guard. If the table already exists in the database, the statement simply does nothing instead of throwing an error, making the code safe to run multiple times. The first execute update inserts a row for alias into the students table and returns 1, confirming that exactly one row was inserted. The second execute update does the same for Bob, also returning 1. Execute query runs the select star from students statement and returns a result set containing all rows in the table. The while loop uses $next to move the cursor forward one row at a time. Each iteration of the loop reads the current row's values. $getInt retrieves integer column values and $getString retrieves text column values, both using the column name as the identifier. The second execute update runs an update statement that changes alias grade from 90 to 95 and returns 1, confirming one row was affected. The third execute update runs a delete statement that removes Bob's row entirely and also returns 1. All the SQL strings in this example are hard-coded directly in the code with no user-provided input involved. This makes it safe to use the basic statement interface here. However, the moment any value comes from user input, you must switch to prepared statement, which uses parameterized queries to prevent SQL injection attacks. Prepared statement is the correct way to execute SQL whenever any part of the query comes from outside your code, user input, configuration files, method parameters. It is not optional. Using statement with user input is a security vulnerability that can compromise your entire database. The key difference is how the SQL is processed. With a regular statement, you build one complete SQL string and send it to the database to be parsed and executed. If user input is embedded in that string, the database cannot distinguish between the SQL structure you intended and the SQL the user injected. With prepared statement, you send the SQL structure first, with question marks as placeholders where values will go. The database parses and compiles this structure once. Then you set the parameter values separately using setter methods. The database inserts these values into the precompiled structure as plain data. It never reparses them as SQL. So even if a user types alias or 1 equals 1, the database treats that entire string as one literal value for the name column, not as SQL commands. The performance benefit is equally real. In applications that run the same query many times with different parameters, like searching by different user IDs, the database can cache the compiled query plan and skip the parsing step for every subsequent execution. You pay the compilation cost once and reuse it. Parameter indices start at 1, not 0. The first question mark in the SQL is index 1, the second is index 2, and so on. You call the appropriate setter for each parameter type, setString, setInt, setDouble, setDate, matching the column's data type. Insert SQL uses two question marks, one for name and one for grade. Prepare statement sends this structure to the database for compilation. SetString of 1 and Charlie sets the first question mark to Charlie. SetInt of 2 and 88 sets the second to 88. Execute update runs the insert and returns 1. The same prepared statement is reused for Diana. Just call the setters again with new values and call execute update again. The SQL is already compiled, no reparsing. This reuse is a significant performance gain in loops. Select SQL filters by grade. setInt sets the threshold to 90. Execute query runs the select and returns the result set. Alice with grade 95 and Diana with 90 to match the condition. Update SQL has two parameters in a different order, grade first and name second. Setter indices follow the order of question marks in the SQL string, grade is index 1 and name is index 2. Stored procedures are blocks of SQL logic saved permanently inside the database server. They run on the server side rather than in your Java application. A stored procedure might validate data, perform complex multi-step operations, or enforce business rules entirely within the database. Callable statement is the JDBC way to invoke them. There are three types of parameters in stored procedures. In parameters are exactly like prepared statement parameters, you pass values in from Java. Out parameters are how the stored procedure sends results back to Java. You register them before calling execute, and after execution you read their values. In-out parameters serve both roles. You set a value going in, and the procedure may replace it with a different value coming out. The SQL syntax for calling a stored procedure uses a special escape notation, curly brace, the word call, the procedure name, the parameter question marks, and a closing curly brace. This notation is database independent. JDBC translates it to whatever the specific database requires. You must always call register out parameter for out and in-out parameters before executing the statement. You pass the parameter index and the SQL type from java.sql.types, types.varchar, types.integer, types.decimal. After execute, you read out values using the same getXXX methods as result set, getString, getInt, getDouble, using the parameter index. Stored procedures are powerful for encapsulating complex database logic, improving performance by reducing round trips, and centralizing business rules in the database layer. Times the stored procedure getStudentGrade is created first using a regular statement. Drop procedure, if exists, ensures a clean start. The procedure takes one in parameter, student name, and one out parameter, student grade. Inside the procedure, select grade into student grade fetches Alice grade into the output variable. Times call SQL uses the curly brace escape notation. Two question marks, one for the in parameter, one for the out parameter. Times prepare call prepares the callable statement. SetString open parenthesis 1, Alice close parenthesis sets the first question mark, the in parameter, to Alice. Times register out parameter open parenthesis 2, Types dot integer close parenthesis tells JDBC that the second question mark is an out parameter of type integer. This registration is mandatory for out parameters. Times execute runs the procedure on the database server. The procedure finds Alice grade and stores it in the out parameter. Times cstmt.getInt open parenthesis to close parenthesis reads the value that the stored procedure wrote to the out parameter. Alice grade is 95, matching what we updated earlier. Result set is what you work with after executing a select query. Think of it as a table in memory with a movable cursor. Initially, the cursor sits before the first row, in a position where you cannot read any data yet. You move the cursor forward by calling rupees.next. Each call to next advances the cursor one row and returns true. When there are no more rows, next returns false and your while loop ends. Once the cursor is on a row, you extract column values using getter methods. You can reference a column by its name as a string, rupees.getString open parenthesis, name, close parenthesis, or by its position index starting at 1, rupees.getString open parenthesis to close parenthesis. Using column names is generally preferred because it makes code more readable and resilient to column order changes in the SQL query. The getter method must match the column's data type. Use getInt for integer columns, getString for text columns, getDouble for decimal columns, getDate for date columns. Using the wrong getter can cause type conversion errors. There are special considerations for null database values. Rupees.getInt returns 0 for a null column, not the absence of a value. To distinguish between a genuine 2000 and a null, call rupees.wasNull immediately after getInt. It returns true if the last column read was null. By default, a result set is forward only. You can only call next, never go backwards. Java also provides scrollable result sets that support previous, absolute, and relative navigation, but these require special parameters when creating the statement and are rarely needed in typical applications. The select query orders students by grade descending, highest grade first. Execute query returns the result set. Rupees.next in the while loop moves the cursor one row at a time. For each row, getInt retrieves the ID column, getString retrieves name, and getInt retrieves grade. Print formats the output neatly. Result set metadata is obtained by calling rupees.getMetadata. GetColumnCount returns how many columns the result has. The for loop from 1 to column count retrieves each column's name using getColumnName and its SQL type using getColumnTypeName. This is useful when writing generic database utilities that do not know the table structure at compile time. Both prepared statement and result set are in private resources, closed in reverse order of declaration, result set first, then prepared statement. Transactions are one of the most critical concepts in database programming. Consider a bank transfer. You need to debit one account and credit another. These are two separate SQL update statements. What happens if the first succeeds but the second fails because of a network error or a constraint violation? You have taken money from one account but not delivered it to the other. Money has vanished. The database is now in an inconsistent state. Transactions solve this by grouping multiple statements into one atomic unit. Either all statements in the transaction commit, their changes become permanent, or none of them do. If anything fails, a rollback reverts every statement in the transaction back to the state before the transaction began. The database is restored to consistency. The workflow is always set auto-commit to false, execute all your statements, then either commit or roll back based on whether everything succeeded. Save points add a middle layer. You can create a named save point at any point during a transaction. If a later part of the transaction fails, you can roll back to the save point, undoing only the work done after the save point, rather than rolling back the entire transaction. This is useful for long transactions where some early work should be preserved even if later work fails. The 4 properties that all transaction-compliant databases guarantee are summarized as ACID, atomic, consistent, isolated, and durable. Atomic means all or nothing. Consistent means the database moves from one valid state to another. Isolated means concurrent transactions do not interfere with each other. Durable means once committed, changes survive system crashes. SetAutoCommit false begins the transaction. From this point, no statement is permanently committed until con.commit is called. First prepared statement adds 5 to Alice grade and executes. This change is pending, visible to this connection but not yet committed to the database. SetSavePoint creates a named SavePoint called after Alice. If we later roll back to this SavePoint, Alice update is preserved but any subsequent changes are undone. Second prepared statement adds 5 to Charlie's grade. Also pending. Con.commit makes both updates permanent simultaneously. The database moves atomically from the old state to the new state. If the simulated exception line is uncommented, the catch block runs con.rollback. Both updates are completely undone. Alice grade is restored to its pre-transaction value. The database is consistent as if neither update ever happened. To roll back only to the save point instead of the full transaction, you would call con.rollback of SP. Charlie's update is undone but Alice's update is preserved. Every time you call drivermanager.getConnection, Java performs a TCP handshake with the database server, authenticates your username and password, and sets up a session. This typically takes 50 to 200 milliseconds depending on the network and server load. For a web application handling hundreds of requests per second, paying this cost for every single request is completely unacceptable. It would make your application catastrophically slow. Connection pooling solves this by creating a fixed number of connections at application startup and keeping them open indefinitely. When your code needs a connection, it borrows one from the pool, a near-instant operation. When done, it returns the connection to the pool rather than closing it. The next request borrows that same connection again. The pool also provides safety. It limits the maximum number of concurrent connections so you cannot accidentally overwhelm the database server. If all connections are borrowed and a new request comes in, the pool makes it wait until one becomes available, up to a configurable timeout. Hikari CP is the industry standard connection pool for Java. It is the default in Spring Boot. It is extremely fast and has sensible defaults. The key configuration values are maximum pool size, which limits total connections, connection timeout, which is how long to wait for a connection before throwing an error, and max lifetime, which periodically replaces old connections to prevent stale session issues. The critical point for your code: when using a connection pool, calling con.close on a borrowed connection does not actually close it. It returns it to the pool. The try with resources pattern works perfectly with pooled connections for this reason. A Hikari config object is created and configured with the database URL, username, password, and pool settings. Set maximum pool size of 10 means the pool can hold up to 10 connections at once. Set minimum middle of 2 keeps at least 2 connections always ready even when idle. Set connection timeout of 30,000 means wait up to 30 seconds before giving up on getting a connection. Set idle timeout of 6 lakhs means an idle connection is closed after 10 minutes. Set max lifetime of 18 lakhs means a connection is recycled after 30 minutes regardless. This config is passed to Hikari data source, which creates and manages the pool. In query students, datasource.getConnection borrows a connection from the pool. A prepared statement is created with the SQL query selecting name and grade from students ordered by grade descending. The result set iterates through each row and prints name and grade. The try with resources block automatically calls close on the connection when done, but with Hikari CP this does not actually close the connection. It simply returns it back to the pool for reuse. In main, init pool is called once at startup to create the pool. Then query students is called 3 times, simulating 3 separate requests. Each call borrows a connection from the pool, uses it, and returns it. Because the same connections are reused, there is no overhead of creating new connections each time. Finally, datasource.close shuts down the entire pool and closes all connections cleanly. I hope this explanation helped you clearly understand the JDBC and its core components in a structured and easy way. Continue learning, keep practicing, and stay consistent with your preparation. More detailed concepts are coming next.